Hello, everybody. This is Deborah Owen from Einstein's Secret, and I am very excited to be able to introduce you today to Tim Grahl, who is the author of Your First 1,000 Copies, the Step-by-Step Guide to Marketing Your Book. And I thought that he would be a terrific expert for all of us to learn a bit about connections and communication and really being able to speak to an audience. And Tim, welcome. Glad that you're here with us today.
Thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to it.
Great. If you wouldn't mind just giving us a brief little introduction and telling us a little bit about where you've come from and how you've gotten to where you are right now as the founder of Outthink, that would be terrific.
Yeah, I started the company about 7 years ago, 3 months after my first son was born and my wife wasn't working. I quit my job and started my own company just because I wanted it to be as stressful as possible. And so we were building websites and helping with online marketing with kind of anybody that would hire us. And about 3.5 years ago, I had started working with some author clients and really enjoyed the work. And so really focused in on learning how I can help authors build their platform, connect with readers and sell more books. And so I've been doing that for almost 4 years and really enjoy it. And I've got to work with a lot of great authors, and I think it's a lot of fun work because it's helping authors connect with their readers in a way so that their work spreads. And as a big reader myself, books have changed my life, so I feel like I get to help more people connect with more books, and it's a lot of fun.
Oh, that's great, actually. And since we speak to teachers who are working with young people, it's always wonderful to be able to talk to an author, and in your case, you're an author who works with authors, and perhaps you could speak a little bit too about what is the importance of being able to write and share what your thoughts are, and whether it's a nonfiction book or a fiction book. I mean, that would be really interesting for us to hear also.
I think books, even in today's world, books have a way of going places that you can never go yourself. And I've seen this, I've worked with authors a long time now, and even with my own book, it's been out a few months now, I've been surprised about the way that it's impacted people and the places that it's gone that I could never go myself. I actually had this like big shot venture capitalist from the Valley blog about my book, and so I emailed him. And I was like, well, where did you hear about my book? And he heard about it from another guy who heard about it from another guy who heard about another guy who I had connected with, 8 months ago about something.
Yeah.
And, that is a connection that I could have never done on my own, that nothing else could have done except for the book. And so I feel like, I'm not in the camp that everybody should be writing books, but I feel like it is, being able to write something and put it down in words that, has a complete thought to it and teaches something is still a really important way to teach and a really important way to consume. And so I think that anybody that's trying to communicate their ideas and change the world, that a book is still something they should consider.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. I had a bunch of questions kind of geared more towards social media, but we can certainly stray a little bit from social media as well. An online presence in general is certainly wide open for discussion, as well as print books, because I know that you have your authors working both in print and in online materials such as Kindle and PDF and such. Can you give us just a little bit of an idea of what do you think are the kind of the pros and the cons? I'm sure you ask this all the time, but some of the pros and cons of print versus online at this point.
Well, I don't think there's a pro and con that matters except on a per person basis. So recently, personally, like a month ago, I switched back to buying all of my nonfiction books in physical copies instead of Kindle, because I like to take notes in it, and I would take notes on the Kindle or highlight, but it was really hard for me to go back through and find everything. And I found that I was reading faster, but not necessarily taking it all in. Yeah. I like to read with a pen and underline, and so personally, I like print books for nonfiction, and I read all of my fiction in digital.
Mm-hmm.
And but people have their own preferences. But what I have seen that, what I think is true is that, I have an emotional attachment to print because I grew up reading print books. I like the feel of the books. I'm still the guy that like smells the books in the bookstore.
Yeah, yeah.
And, but my kids aren't going to feel that way. They're not going to be attached to print the way that I am. And so I feel like an author that, wants to stay relevant just needs to look at, it's not about print versus digital, it's about the best way to get your message out. And, for me, I'm able to price my book, the print version of my book I price it $9.99, and Amazon usually has it discounted down to $8.99, so $9.
Mm-hmm.
But my digital, I can offer that for $4 and still make enough money on it that it's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea that I can get I'm going to be able to sell more books at $4 than I can at $10.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like the fact that I can put it in this medium that's basically free or close to free for me to deliver on, so I can lower the price and I make as much off of $4. It's close. It's pretty close. I make almost the same amount off of a $4 ebook that I do a $10 print book.
Okay.
So I like the fact that I can get books out to more people that way. So that's what I'm interested in, is I don't care about print versus digital. I care about what does the reader want, what's going to serve the reader the best. And right now it's so easy to offer both. I just offer both.
Yeah.
And whoever, I try to make it as cheap as possible while making a little bit of money on it, and then just offer it out to the world. And I sell, because of the price difference, I sell for every one print book, I sell somewhere, depending on the day or the month, I sell 7 to 9 digital. So I'm selling way more digital. But, I think that it's just so easy to publish the digital now. Once I had my digital file ready to go, in like 10 minutes, it was up for sale. Right?
That's pretty convenient. It is. Although I have to say, I kind of agree with you. I'm the kind of person who prefers to have my nonfiction in print so that I can interact with it more, whereas I'm totally fine with a fiction book being on my Kindle because you can just flip right through the pages and I don't need to underline or anything. So, but you're right. I think eventually people won't even notice that anymore.
And the last time I moved and didn't have to carry 20 boxes of books down from my attic was when I was sold on Kindle for fiction.
Yeah, at least for fiction. That's right. That's right. That's great. Well, one of the things that I'm working on is this kind of model for how we use social media and trying to teach young people kind of the skills behind the medium, even though the tools may change over time. And some of the things that I'm looking at are communication and connection. And I know you speak a lot in your book about connection. And I was wondering, connection through communication. And I was wondering if you could talk to us a little bit about making connections, maybe not exclusively, but especially perhaps through social media.
I have found that social media, so I have a very love-hate relationship with social media.
Don't we all?
Do. For a lot of different reasons. If we're talking about straight marketing, trying to sell products or books, it's not a great tool. Like in most cases, it's really hard. But I found on a connection standpoint of connecting with people, it's a really great first step to get to know somebody and connect with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
People that return my emails, or you can't find their phone number online or anything. People that are hard to get a hold of, a lot of times you can connect directly with them in social media in a way that you can't otherwise. And so it's a great way to establish that connection. And also, as somebody that works very remote from I have no clients where I'm at. Most of my colleagues that I work with and interact with, they're not in my town. Like, I don't get to see them in person very much.
Mm-hmm.
I also don't have time. We're talking about hundreds of people now. I don't have time to call them on a regular basis. But using social media as a way to at least keep this tenuous connection, where I can kind of keep up with what they're doing, they can keep up with what I'm doing, I can send them quick notes. I like using it for that, and using it as a way of I can't email everybody personal notes all the time. I can't call everybody on the phone all the time, but I can at least show that we're connected. and we can stay in touch. And then if I can send them something longer on a semi-regular basis, when I actually get to see them in person, we still have this connection. It hasn't been 2 years since we've had any communication. The other rule of thumb I have, and this isn't because like I'm not, you know those people that are just like they're positive people. Everything gets spun into a good light. Everything is always positive.
Right.
Nothing's ever
Right.
good. I am not that person. I say things about people I shouldn't say. I say things about our current government that I shouldn't say. All these things. But when it comes to putting things out in the world in a public way, my litmus test is if it's negative, I don't put it out. It's even if it's as simple as like I'm having a bad day today, I don't put it out. I feel like when I read other people's negativity on social media, it doesn't make me feel better. It makes me cringe, or it makes my day worse, right? And it's one thing if like you're sharing something sad that's happened to you and want people involved in that, but this very like real negativity, whether it's like talking about your bad day, or talking about how you hate somebody, or talking about how you hate this music, or any, I really don't put any of it out there because I feel like it doesn't make me look good. It
Right.
doesn't add to other people. And I talk about in my book being relentlessly helpful.
Right.
It's looking for ways that I can make other people's lives better. Well, I don't feel like any negativity from me is going to make anybody's lives better. It's only if they agree with me. Let's use, the government during this recording just shut down today, right?
Right.
So all kinds of stuff out there about it. And if I put out something negative, people are only, if they agree with me, they're going to get more angry. Agree with me, and it's going to fuel that fire. Or if they disagree with me, they're going to get more angry, right? So I'd rather just not say anything.
It serves no good purpose.
Purpose. I don't, I am not a Washington correspondent that makes my living from keeping up with what's going on.
Right.
And I feel like, and this is, as my kids are getting older, this is one of the things I'm going to teach them when it comes to everything can go online so quickly, is to really get away from putting things out there and focus on positive things. And if you want to share something, look for something that's positive that you can share instead of negative. So that's my general rule of thumb when it comes to social media.
I love that. I love that. And that's really terrific thing for our young people to hear, is to really focus on the positive things and build people up. I mean, I try to have that as my own kind of motto myself, is build people up. So I really like that, not focusing on the negative, because it's so easy to do, especially in social media.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I'm only 32, so I've got a long way to go. But what I've really noticed, the more that I read and the more that I learn, is how little I actually know about things and how little I really understand. And how everything that you see in the media is spun one way or another by somebody. And so I never really know what's going on. And so anytime we talk about something in a public light, as if we do, it doesn't really make us look good. And I go back and look at like some of the blog posts I wrote when I was in my early 20s, and some of the things I put out there and acting like I knew what I was talking about, and just cringe. So the thing besides being positive is I really just try, if I don't know what I'm talking about and know for a fact that I know what's going on, I just don't say anything, because it's just again, it's not going to make the world a better place. It's not going to help other people. And so the things where I try to put out are either I try to share something that I think is neat, like pictures of my kids or something. Same time, if I share something, I share something that I feel confident in, that I know what I'm talking about, and I feel really good in 10 years. And if I look back and see that I posted that online, I'm going to be proud of myself and not cringe.
I love this. I'm definitely going to share this with the young people that I'm going to be working with this year. This is great. Kind of along those same lines, if you could just expound a little bit more on the famous quote that I've actually quoted you to other people. I think I quoted you in a Think Traffic post and to Corbett Barr about being relentlessly helpful, and it would be great if you could just talk to us a little bit about that as well.
I try to define marketing in my book. You know, a lot of times when we think of marketing, especially when it comes to art, like writing, painting, anything that, you know, it's not just some widget that rolled off an assembly line somewhere, like it's something we've extracted from inside of us.
Mm-hmm.
We can feel very bad about it, like we're hawking our goods, or we're like a used car salesman, you know, and we see people doing this with their books, where they're just out screaming like, buy my book, I got to feed my kids, you know. And what I try to redefine it as is creating long-lasting connections with people and then being relentlessly helpful. And I look at that as constantly looking at how can I help the people that I'm connected to get what they want out of life, right? Um, so for me, you know, I try to connect with authors. And so whenever I send something to my email list or put something out on social media or try to communicate with them, I try to give something that I think will help them get what they want out of life, which is to connect with readers and sell more books. So, you know, the last I sent was this whole case study about when I gave my book away for 60 hours and how many books I gave away, what that did to my sales ranking, what that did to sales afterwards, like all this different stuff, because I know that's going to be really helpful to them in making decisions about what to do with their own book.
Right.
And, you know, a lot of people get
Isabel
like,
Thomas from the main office, please.
Sorry, I'm a school teacher. I'm in school right now.
a lot of times I get questions from fiction writers that are like, well, I'm not helping people sell books, or lose weight, or make money. You know, how am I being relentlessly helpful? And I think that's a fundamental, like you're fundamentally looking at what you do incorrectly. You know, every night I fall asleep reading fiction. Like every day, 365 days a year, I read fiction before I go to bed. You know, like that's what I do. And usually in between, if I get a chance, I love fiction. Like it adds so much to my life that I enjoy. And so, as a fiction writer, knowing that you have fiction readers on your list, and you also are a fiction reader if you're a writer, what makes you happy? Telling stories, you know, anecdotes that you've learned, you know, sharing other books that you've read that you like. You know, always looking for like, if I'm trying to get a group of people around me that like fiction, how can I give them things that they'll be interested in? And this translates anywhere, right? I was talking to a guy that cleans he cleans those hoods. So in restaurants they have these hoods over the stove, and they have to be cleaned by law because they become a fire hazard.
Right.
And I'm like, if you go in there and you just look for ways to be helpful, you go in and you not only clean their hood, but teach them about how they could do their stove differently so that it would reduce their fire hazard. And just look for ways to be helpful. Who do you think they're going to call the next time they need somebody to clean their hood? They're going to call the guy that's not just there to make a buck, but is there looking out for their best interest. And so I feel like for anybody, no matter what you do, the best thing that you can do for yourself, for your company, for your job, you know, for your nonprofit, is look at who am I connected to, what do they want out of life, and how can I help them get what they want out of life, and do that in such a relentless way that you are seen as somebody that is going to be helpful to them and looking out for other people. Those are who we want to be connected to, right? We want to be connected to people. You know, there's this marketing writer named Seth Godin that blogs every single day. And he gives away content every day. And if you email him, he emails you back. Like, he is relentlessly helpful. And every time that man comes out with a book, I buy at least one copy of it because I just love what he does. And so I just feel like it's such a fundamental thing for any of us that we look at who are we connected to and how do we help them get what they want out of life.
Yeah, and you talk about being relentlessly helpful, and in your book you also quote Zig Ziglar. You can get everything you want in life if you just help enough other people get what they want out of life. So, yeah,
Right.
yeah, that's great. That's great. I think that's really important for anybody, young people too, but really anybody, to remember that the relationships that we develop are based on, first of all, building people up, and also on being helpful and by being able to help others, then eventually they'll come back and help you too when you need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I, I was actually talking to a friend of mine who's a big idealist. Like he always thinks everything can be perfect and gets really disappointed when it's not. And I'm pragmatic to a fault. So when I first heard that Zig Ziglar quote, I'm like, oh, that's BS. You know, um, yeah, this karma thing where I just good out to the universe and it comes back. But I'm convinced now, having work, like the more that I help other people get what they want out of life, I get more of what I want out of life, and it just works that way.
That's great. That's great. Um, Kind of related to that, what can you tell us a little bit about building trust, especially online, and especially if, for instance, you have, say, a platform, and we'll talk about that in just a minute, where you have all these people that you've never met before. I mean, how do you build trust? How do you build those kinds of trusting relationships online?
You know, I, there's a couple different things that do this really well, and I've had to get good at this because again, none of my clients are here in town. And so I have to build up. I can't, in most cases, I don't get to have coffee with them. I don't get to know them really well. Like it's all remote stuff. So I have to be able to build up trust. So, really another word for trust is predictability, right? So if the reason my wife trusts me is because she's been with me long enough that she can predict my behavior and knows I'm not going to be an idiot. So one thing that I really try to do is be predictable. If I say I'm going to do something, I do it. Or if I can't do it, I apologize and I let them know ahead of time. Try to always be predictable. And that's one way to cultivate trust. The other way is to go kind of circling back around to what we were just talking about is looking out for the other person's good above your own. So just yesterday, I was talking to a guy that was interested in hiring us, but after talking to him, I realized he shouldn't hire us. Like there's other things he should be doing with his money than paying us to do what we do. And so, at the end of as we were talking, you know what, I laid out like, here's the three things you should be doing over the next 6 months. They should not have anything to do with your website or anything that you would hire my firm to do. Um, you know, that's what you should be spending your time on. So you shouldn't hire us. I'm not even going to send you a proposal. And then maybe a year you'll be in a position that we should work together. Well, if he ever needs anything, he's going to come back to me.
Right.
I gave him advice that hurt me is good. I didn't get any money out of that, and I'm in business to make money. And so that one act created a trust with him that I know I'm his guy now. If he needs anything that is remotely close to what I do, I'm getting the phone call first, right?
So related to trust then is also honesty.
Right.
Yeah.
But it has that like thread of like, we use the word love, whether we say I love my wife, I love chocolate cake, that we use the word love, and but there's that idea of agape love.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the Greek term for it, and they have like 4 words for love. But that agape is like it's a decision. I'm going to decide, not just a feeling, but it's a decision to look out for somebody else's good instead of my own. And I think that is what makes such a difference because, I make a lot of mistakes in my business. I mess up. I forget to do things, but my clients stay with me because they know I'm looking out for their good over my own. And um, so I think, when it comes to trust online and digital, it's the same type stuff. Be predictable, do what you say you're going to do, look out for other people's good. It comes back to that, I don't put stuff negative online because that's not looking out for their good. That's just me wanting to blow off steam or try to look witty.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's how I found I can build trust very quickly because as soon as people see that you're looking out for their good over your own, they're going to be much more likely to trust you and to follow you with whatever you do.
That's great. Thank you very much. And actually, I alluded to it right at the beginning of that question, but for young people, could you talk to us a little bit about what a platform is and how do you build that and how does social media play into that and how do you use that to spread a message that you may have?
So basically, it's an industry term in publishing.
Right.
How you're going to sell your book. That's basically all it means. So somebody that travels the country and speaks 70 times a year, he has a speaking platform, right? So he goes out and he speaks. Somebody that has a very popular blog that gets lots of readers, that's their platform. But if you stood in Times Square and like hand sold books, like that's your platform. It's however you use to actually get people to buy books in the industry. But general is just how you can get people to take action, right? So do you have a connection with people that when you tell them to do something, they'll actually go and do it? And that's a platform. And so then we start looking at, whether it's blogging, email marketing, social media, any of these things, they're just tools in a toolbox. And a lot of people get stuck on the tools, like, okay, I want to be on Facebook, so how do I use Facebook the best? And we never stop to consider whether Facebook was even the best tool for the job. And so it's like going to, a home improvement store and finding a cool tool and then bringing it home and looking for something to build instead of knowing what I'm going to build and going out and getting the tools that I need to build it. And so if you want to spread a message, or you're trying to connect with people to get them to do something, whether it's give money to a nonprofit, whether it's buy one of your products, whether it's hire you to do something, whether it's get involved in this movement, you want to look at the best thing that you can to connect with people that will actually drive action. And there's lots of ways to do this. In the book, I talk about email marketing and how email marketing is still the best way to do this. And building an email list is the most predictable way to get people to actually take action in the future.
So I see, okay, so we're looking at communication and connection as a way to drive people to action. Okay, I'm thinking about themes from our conversation here today, and so that's kind of where the theme that I'm seeing is connection to help people take action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, back to my pragmatism. Like, I try to build connections with people just because, there's no reason for me to grow an email list or grow a social media following if I'm never going to ask them to do anything. I'm not interested in being famous, so that alone does not help me. It's really hard to pay my mortgage with Facebook likes. And so I'm pragmatic about, okay, I want to accomplish X, and so I need to get a group of people around me that will help me accomplish X. And I need to be able to communicate with them in a way that they'll actually stand up and help me accomplish X, whatever X is. So to me, communication and connection are tools that you use to accomplish a goal.
Okay. So would that be a good reason for a young person or a couple of young people maybe working together to develop their own platform then? And what might that look like?
Well, so many start walking before they know where they're going. And of course, it can shift over time. And, you don't have to, a lot of people also get stuck with like, I don't know exactly what I'm doing, so I'm not going to do anything. Mm-hmm. I see all of these people that build a big following around a YouTube channel because they put together funny videos. And it's like, from what I can tell, most of them, they're not making any money on it. It's mostly about fame. And Derek Sivers said there's three things that you can get out of starting a business, or in this case, starting a platform. You can either get fame, money, or freedom. And only one of those can be your focus. A lot of times others will come with it. But if your number one focus is fame, that's fine. Just admit it to yourself and go after it. But again, I'm not interested in fame. I'm interested in things that pay my bills so I can have freedom. I'm interested in freedom.
Okay.
So start if there's a couple kids wanting to do something, well, why? Why are you wanting to do this? Are you wanting to do it to to help a nonprofit? Are you wanting to just because you think it'd be a lot of fun to get 1 million views on a video? That's just make sure that that's your goal and that you write it down, and that's what I'm going after. Because otherwise, every time you try to sit down to do something, you won't really know what you're doing and why. So you'll kind of do all this random stuff and you'll start to get burnt out. I've done this a million times. To get burnt out because none of it's going toward the common goal.
Okay.
So
So it's best if you're going to really put yourself online in a concerted way as opposed to just having a Facebook page. It's best to really kind of write down what your goals are and even develop a little bit of a plan, probably. Maybe not something that you can't change along the way, but perhaps a plan that would be useful.
yeah, I was just talking to somebody earlier, and they were talking about, how do people, the people I work with, do all this stuff when they have a full-time job? And I'm like, you come up with the goal, then you come up with the 2 or 3 highest value things that will actually get you to that goal. Mm-hmm. So, like, if, I'm on Facebook to connect with people and have fun more than I am for any kind of business reason. But when it comes to business and growing my email list and growing my book and selling my book, I do 2 or 3 things that have high impact and don't take a lot of my time. And that's all I focus on. But knowing that my 2 goals are grow my email list and sell my book, I will only do things that will get me to one of those 2 goals. I won't do things that are going to take me off down a path that's not actually going to help me.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
And again, that's where my pragmatism comes in. But if you're just doing it to have fun, have fun. But if you're actually trying to accomplish something, you need to know, at least have an idea of where you're going to help you make decisions on, which tools you should be picking up to get you there.
That's great. That's great. I appreciate that. I think that's very useful information. A slightly different topic is about content. In your book, you talk a lot about content. And how would you describe quality content, and what can young people take away from this definition if they're going to start putting themselves online? What kind of quality content? I think perhaps we've talked a little bit about it. Don't be negative. Try to build people up. Is there anything that you would add to that?
I think the best content. So again, I'm gonna sound like a broken record. The best content is relentlessly helpful.
Okay.
So it's providing content in a way that gives people something that will help them, that will entertain them, that will make their lives better in some way. So you start there, and then I find the best content is the content that I enjoy making. So I have clients that are like, I hate blogging, I'm not going to blog, give me something. And so then I was just talking with a lady earlier today, and she's like, I really like interviewing people. Could I just interview people? And I'm like, yeah, we can do a podcast. We'll set up an interview, make it really easy to get that online. And I walked her through how she do it. She's like, that'd be great. I'll do like 2 of them a month. That'd be perfect. And so she really likes doing that. And because she likes it, she's going to be good at it. I've seen that people that do what they enjoy do it the best. And you have to try a bunch of stuff to find what you enjoy. And so one of the things, I talk to people about is, don't be afraid to make mistakes. You're going to flounder as you figure out what you're doing. And so many times I've felt like that. I'm in the middle of a big transition in my business. I've never done this before. I'm floundering. I'm trying things and just seeing if they work and throwing stuff against the wall to see if it sticks. And some of it's going to work and some of it's not, and I'm going to learn along the way. But early on, I would try pretty much anything that came out just to see if I liked it, to see if it got me people paying attention to it, and to see if it was something I could do long term. And most of it I've cut out, and I stick with the things I'm good at. And so that's what I see people do consistently, is find a medium that they really enjoy, that they'll actually do. Because a lot of people are like, well, I feel like I should do blogging. And so they start blogging and they hate it. And so they like push at it, and finally they just give up because they're like, I hate this. And it's like, well, that's why, is because you hate it. You're never going to stick with something you hate that much. So um, create content. Just it's the marrying of find a medium that works for you that you enjoy, and marry it with relentlessly helpful content. I really like making these videos. You've probably seen them where I just create a PowerPoint presentation and I just record my screen as I go through and I teach. And I try to
Right.
do it like giving a keynote presentation and I teach something. I love doing those. I like creating the slides. I really have fun with the PowerPoint. I'm such a nerd. Like I create these PowerPoints and then I just really enjoy talking people through and helping them do this stuff.
Uh-huh.
And so that works for me. I really enjoy it. And I know that if I make a list of 5 videos I need to create, I'll just do it because I enjoy it. Where if that was a list of 2,000 word blog posts, I would never do it because I hate it. So
Well, isn't that the beauty of the internet now? Is if you can still have a platform and you can create whatever kind of content you enjoy doing that works for you.
and for every type of content you can create out there, there's lots of people being successful with it. So, and the best ones are the ones that just love it, that look forward to doing it.
Right, right. That's great. All right. Well, we'll kind of wrap up a little bit here, just by bringing some things together about defining some of the attitudes and behaviors that being online requires. So it sounds to me like being relentlessly helpful, and doing something that you really enjoy, and having a goal and kind of a plan to achieve those goals. Is there anything else that we would add right at the end here?
No, I think a big is just realize that it should be fun. You know, we, you know, we connect with people. That's what we want to do. We want to build connections with people and we want to help people. And now more than ever, you can actually do that and make money at it or make a difference or get people involved in what you're doing. When my son's 7, and when I was 7, my job didn't even exist.
Right.
The fact that I can do something I love, do something I'm really good at, help people, and I get paid in the process, it's easier now than it ever has been. And so I really encourage people to find what they're good at, find what they enjoy, find how they can really help people. And only good can come from that.
That's great. That's great. Well, thank you, Tim, so much for being with us today. This has been just an incredible conversation. I can't wait to share it with people. And I wish you all the best. I hope you have a great afternoon.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. Thank you.